Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everyone here in Carson City and those in Las Vegas, and of course, anyone watching online. Today is, I don't know what today is, but Committee Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Assembly members Cole. Here. Dahlia. Here. Gonzalez. Here. Gray. Here. Hanson. Hardy. Here. LaRue Hatch. Here. Marzola.
Present.
Moore.
Here.
Nadim.
Present.
Orentlicker.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Urick. And Chair Miller.
Here, thank you. And please mark Assemblymember Hanson present when she arrives. With that, just a few, including turn down your electric. Just a few housekeeping issues. Please make sure you turn down the sound on all of your devices. Today's meeting is viewable on the Nevada Legislature YouTube station as well as on Nellis. Nellis also has the agenda with information about how to call in later throughout the meeting if you choose to make public comment or testify on a bill. So I'll give you that phone number right now. It is 1-888-475-4499, and the meeting ID for today is 834-7727-2665. And again, that's available on Nellis. On Nellis, you will also see the agenda that we are taking the bills in the order they are. So I know they are numerically out of order, but that will be the order that we are taking them. Also, please, a reminder to all bill presenters, please limit your presentation to 15 minutes. And to anyone testifying or making public comment, we ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes. With that, I will go ahead and open our first bill hearing. We are first going to hear Assembly Bill 107, which revises provisions relating to foster care. So, Assembly Member, as you are settling in, I will give you a few minutes to settle in, and you can begin whenever you're ready. I ask that you introduce yourself and your co-presenters. And for everyone in the room, please make sure that before you speak, you state your name. And the first time you state your name, please spell it so that we have it correct for the records.
Thank you, Chair Miller, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown May, Tracy Brownmay. With me, I have Ashley Garza Kennedy, who's also hyphenated. And when she introduces herself, we'll let her spell her name for the record. I would like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here today to present on this very important measure, Assembly Bill 107. Our focus today is on foster care. I'm proud to represent Assembly District 42 in Clark County, and as such, I have had an opportunity to work very closely with our foster care system and a number of families that live in the district. I work closely with Clark County and their services coming out of Child Haven and other support homes in our community. I'm proud of that work, and out of that came the need to bring this bill. So there are a number of exemptions that we're going to ask you to consider. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet this morning. We're going to ask you to consider a few things today that are essential to how we grow supports and services for our foster care. The need is great. There are thousands of children currently in foster care, and there is an exemption there's not an exemption for people who have been convicted of a marijuana offense. We believe that your consideration of eliminating or time limiting a marijuana offense for potential foster parents would be beneficial to the care of our community. You have the bill in front of you. At this point, I'm going to turn over our presentation to my co-presenter, Ashley Garza Kennedy from Clark County, to talk through the bill and the reasons that we brought it. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Ashley Kennedy, representing Clark County. Thank you, Assemblymember Brown May, for championing this issue for us. Down south, I have our Director of DFS, Frank Prado, and our manager that handles all of our foster care licensing, Jennifer Erbs. They are here to help me answer technical questions. They do this work every day. Before we dive into the details of the bill, I wanted to also just take a moment to explain why we are here. As you all know, child welfare services are partially administered by the state and the counties in Washoe and Clark County. These services are county administered but state funded. In Clark County alone, we have about over 3,000 children in foster care on any given day, but fewer than 900 licensed foster homes. So at Clark County, we are constantly looking to recruit more foster homes to bridge that gap, whether it is recruitment efforts to remove unnecessary barriers to licensure, such as covering the cost of background checks, providing safety equipment, or offering expedited training classes. AB 107 is another step in that direction. Over the years, we have lost qualified caring individuals due to former criminal records, particularly for marijuana convictions related to possession that were over 20 years old or longer, and no longer align with kind of what our Nevada's current laws are. This bill seeks to ensure that nonviolent marijuana offenses are no longer a barrier to securing more qualified foster homes. Section AB 107 is pretty short, so I will walk through it. First, as Nevada has legalized the personal use of cannabis, we want to ensure that individuals with past marijuana possession charges or convictions, specifically for amounts that would be legal today, are not barred from becoming foster parents. Secondly, we seek to prevent old marijuana-related offenses from being a barrier to fostering. If a person has a possession charge or conviction without the intent to sell that is 7 years or older, they would still have an opportunity to become a foster parent. I want to make clear that this does not change any of the licensing requirements to become a foster parent. You still have to conduct a background check, you still have to do the various training, home study, et cetera, all the things that go into being a foster parent. This bill is really just making sure that this background is not an automatic disqualifier from you starting the process of becoming a licensed foster home. We believe this legislation aligns with Nevada's evolving cannabis policies while ensuring that qualified caring individuals are not excluded from providing stable homes to kids that need them. And at this point, that concludes our presentation. We're happy to take questions.
Our first question will be from Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. I'm glad you're making this change. I have a question about the 7 years that appears in a number of provisions. So we never forgive some crimes, and others we forgive after 7 years. Is that based on data about recidivism, or where does the 7 years come from?
Ashley Kennedy, for the record, through you, Chair Miller, to Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Please go direct.
Thank you, Chair. So I don't know if my colleagues down south have any history on the 7 years. That's been in statute for a while, and why we chose the 7 years, because it aligned with currently what was allowed. I don't know if Ms. Herbs down south, if you have any history. Ms. Herbs has been with the department for many years.
Thank you, Assembly Member. For the record, this is Jennifer Herbs, ERBES, with Clark County Family Services. I'm in the same position as Ashley. It just aligned with the language that had previously been and has been in the NRS for that time frame. I don't have a history, unfortunately, in regards to the 7 years.
Carly O'Krent, for the record, I would need to look into that. Otherwise, I'd just be speculating, but I'm happy to get back to the chair and she'll get back to the committee about that.
Yeah, if you could consult and see what you can find out, and if there are other states that do 5 years, and if recidivism data tell us 7 years was too long and we could revise, it would be nice to be up to date on that. Thank you.
Tracy Brown May, for the record. We're happy to do that. We'll bring that information back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good to see you guys back, and another great bill by you, Assemblywoman. Yeah, first off, I gotta say, this is gonna be a game changer for a lot of us in Lyon County. We have, I think, only 7 foster families. I'm not sure how many we turn away, so if the chair lets me, I'm gonna have a question and follow-on question. How many people in Clark County do you say you guys turn away just for this problem per month?
Ashley Kennedy for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman Gray. So right now, it's currently an automatic disqualifier, so a lot of our information is more anecdotal. But I would say our department has indicated at least 10 families a year we've lost because of this provision.
That's a shame. Madam Chair, following?
Please.
So just to reconfirm and get it on the record, this will not alleviate the home checks, the family, the criminal background checks of the people living there. Everything still goes as planned. This is just no longer an automatic disqualifier, correct?
Ashley Kennedy for the record. Yes, that is correct.
Again, thank you, and I really would like to join you as a co-sponsor on this one.
Thank you so much. I don't see any additional questions at this time, but certainly even 10 families, that's 10 significant lives and just family circles and stuff that can really make a huge difference in our community.
Madam Chair, could I make a point on that, on what you just said? The chairs, the 10, please? Just, with the way it is in the rules right now.
And only because we're all so interested,
Well,
because we enjoy hearing your compassion for families.
The way to my heart is kids, but even in Lyon County in the rurals, we have so few beds so not only do these kids have to be taken away from their parents, they have to be taken away from their communities sometimes and put in other counties, other schools. So you're adding more damage on top of damage that's already being done. And it's very detrimental to rectifying the whole thing. So the more, even 1 or 2 homes per year in each county is going to make a significant difference. So again, thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you for that point too, because I didn't realize that yes, sometimes kids have to be transferred to other counties. And so, Assembly Member Gray, are you good up here, or are you going to go down there?
I'd rather go down there.
Okay, all right. With that, I don't see any additional questions, so I will open it up for testimony. Testimony in support. So anyone that would like to come forward to testify in support of the bill here in Carson City, and then we'll move down to Las Vegas. Again, I ask that you say your name, spell it for the record, and please keep your comments to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Jonathan Norman, Jonathan Norman, with the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. Between Northern Nevada Legal Aid and Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada, we represent about 3,500 kids in foster care. I think this is a common sense bill, and when we talk about 10 homes, in a year that can be multiple foster placements, that can be 4 kids at a time. So we're talking, just with that 10, if it's just that 10, we could be talking about 100 kids over the course of a year, so it's significant. So I want to thank the sponsor and the county for bringing the bill. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City, we'll move down to Las Vegas. Are you there to testify in support of Assembly Bill 107? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Then I will go ahead and open it up for testimony on the phones. Broadcasting, please open the lines.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 107, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 107, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide testimony in support at this time.
Thank you. Then I will open it up for opposition testimony, beginning here in Carson City. Not seeing anyone. We will move to Las Vegas. Not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 107, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
they get in, we'll let them. All right, thank you so much. Then I will open it up for neutral testimony. Anyone here in Carson City? Not seeing anyone there in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, please open the lines.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 107, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Then I will welcome the bill sponsors back up for any final words.
Thank you, Tracy Brown May for the record. We are really honored to have this opportunity to present this bill to you today. We look forward to working through any additional concerns that might arise as we navigate the process. And thank you for the time and attention today.
Ashley Kennedy, no other comments, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 107. Next on our agenda this morning is Assembly Bill 246. Assembly Bill 246 revises provisions relating to offenders. And I trust that members have also had a chance to review the conceptual amendments. And I believe you will also be presenting the bill off of the conceptual amendments. Excellent. So with that, I will give you a few moments to get settled, and whenever you are ready, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Miller, Vice Chair Marzola, and members of the committee. I am Venetia Considine, Venicia Considine, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 18. I am here today to present Assembly Bill 246, and with me today is Nick Shepak, State Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. Just want to give a little bit of background. Last session, I was a member of this committee, and I miss y'all. I was also able to present AB 121, a bill that dealt with mail and prescription drug refills at the Department of Corrections facilities. The experience connected me with individuals and organizations working with offenders and the correction system. One of the issues that came up repeatedly over the last year and a half was food. It was the #1 issue. It was quality of food, portion size changes, the lack of fresh food, inconsistencies with what was listed on the menu compared to what was being served, inconsistencies between corrections institutions, and the health problems exacerbated by this system. Food waste is significant. Reliance on the commissary for calories is a cost burden for families, and the items often offered for sale in the commissaries are ultra-processed and lack nutrition. This diet leads to more health issues and higher health costs. And in reality, the population of Nevada's correction facilities is aging, and the aging population has the highest health issues and the highest health costs that are being paid for by all of us. So that's sort of the genesis of AB 246. The goal of AB 246 is to improve this system, to provide better food options, cut down on food waste, ensure nutritional standards, and to create vocational farms at facilities that can support those, to supplement diets with fresh food while providing education and experience to those incarcerated. A healthier population will cut down on some of the highest healthcare problems and the highest healthcare costs. We have met with stakeholders and the Department of Corrections, and since those meetings, the original bill has been heavily amended, so I will review the amendment since that is most of the changes for the bill. So, and you should all have a copy of the amendment. The initial amendment or change is that we are removing sections 1.1 through sections 1, subsection 1.3c, so essentially all of the blue. We are adding additional new sections. We are changing this bill to a study for multiple reasons, which we will go over as we go through this, but one of the main reasons was the cost of food, the cost of health, all of that is a cost. And if we're going to make changes, we want to make sure that those are embedded in data, science, and positive outcomes. So one of these is a one-year study of the cost of the food served to offenders in the Department of Corrections. This study will include multiple items. One is a request for proposals for food service contracts that meets the Department of Corrections annual needs. The RFPs shall include the full cost of food services at the current level of food quality and at a second higher level of food quality so that there can be a comparison with nutrition and cost efficiencies. It's my understanding that when you're working with vendors, there are multiple levels that can be met based on your cost differences. So the level that we are at right now is a low quality food level. So the comparison with where we are now with a comparison with a higher quality food level will give us a better data point to determine how much the cost changes would be in connection with all of the other changes that we're hoping to make through this study. The RFP, in order to expand that, shall be sent to multiple food service entities and shall include nonprofit entities, including specifically the Good Food Purchasing Program. For the duration of the study, include the data on the number of times there was a deviation from the approved menu, including the original approved menu item substituted and each item that was served in place of the item on the menu. This is directly in response to one of the issues that we heard is on paper, there's several times where it tells you portions, what's on the menu, and then when they're going to get their food or their food is brought to them, it's been completely substituted. So we want to make comparisons on that. And also to keep track of the amount of food lost due to waste during the duration of the study. We heard from multiple people, and I'm sure you'll hear from some today, that so much food is wasted. Trays are brought to cells if that food is not eaten in the commissary, in the cafeterias themselves, and also if there is food left over that is non-perishable at the time, we have been told that that has been told to been thrown away instead of keeping. So we want to keep track of weights of all of that food waste. Also, a 90-day test program on a pick-your-own menu at the end of which the amount of food waste during that 90-day test can be compared to the amount of food waste generated in the 90 days preceding that test period. This way we can compare. If it's an issue of whatever we give them, they're throwing it away, we want to be able to know if that's the case by having a measure of that food waste. Also to include a concurrent survey of the offenders during that test program. Also, we would like to add a section for the Department of Corrections if it determines that it needs to recontract with their current vendor during the time of this study, that their maximum contract term will be 2 years. Add another section, to the extent that funding becomes available for this purpose, the Department of Corrections shall establish a vocational farm program where it is practical. There used to be farms at some of our incarceration facilities. There are some that are creating agricultural farms that are not farms where the offenders are not only working in that farm on the property, but they are eating the fruits and vegetables of their labor, and that also can help food costs and also inject fresh food, which is an issue when you have to purchase food items 3 weeks, a 3-week supply at all times. So this will add to that. And the final section would be that the department shall adopt regulations surrounding regular inspection of the food service program to be conducted by a registered dietitian who is not affiliated with a contracted food service vendor. And I need to add a line in here that is not currently in your amendment, and is not an employee of the Department of Corrections. That is a request by the Department of Corrections, and that these regulations shall be subject to NRS 233B, the public rulemaking process. So that is what we are putting back where the blue is now on that bill. I'm here to answer questions. We are still meeting with stakeholders, but now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Nick Shepak.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Nick Shepak, N-I-C-K-S-H-E-P-A-C-K. I am the Nevada State Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. I also sit on the board of Return Strong. prison issues are near and dear to my heart. They're something I've worked on for many sessions. I want to thank the Assembly member for bringing this legislation. I also want to thank the director and the prison system for working diligently on us with this. I think this language is very close to something that works for everyone. I'm going to keep my remarks brief, but I want to highlight a few things. So first, why is the Fines and Fees Justice Center interested in a prison food program may be a question. And when we look at commissary sales, we see an average of $14 million of sales in the commissary year. That is $14 million that is coming out of our communities, usually our poorest communities, predominantly communities, or disproportionately communities of color, predominantly low-income communities, and predominantly from single mothers, grandmothers, and other matriarchal figures in our communities. That money is spent almost solely to supplement food that is the number one or number two complaint that Return Strong receives and that even we receive from individuals. The amount of people who use their 3 minutes of free phone calls to call me to tell me how bad the food is terrifying. They are choosing not to call their family members, but they are choosing to call me to beg to have something done about this issue. When we dig down into those numbers a little deeper, we found that the most recent numbers we have, there's about 1.9 million packets of Top Ramen sold in a single year, generating $1.2 million in sales. That is a lot of processed food being eaten by our incarcerated individuals. The medical cost is another thing we deal with at Fines and Fees Justice Center, and it is undeniable that food quality is contributing to these medical costs, both during incarceration and post-incarceration when people are getting out on state Medicaid or whatever's going to happen here moving forward. There's a huge cost to both the taxpayer but also to these families. And when it comes to looking at things like vocational farms, the vocational farms not only increase the food, the value of the food and the substance of the food that's inside, but they very much create jobs for people post-release, which is another huge issue that we are interested in. And any vocational training that we can get inside of the systems benefits everyone and reduces recidivism. As I mentioned, I will keep my remarks brief, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll pass it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'll just start by saying I love food. So, you know, we have to keep in mind that when we're talking about food in general, if we could all think about the role that food plays in our lives, right? Yes, it is a sustainer of nutrition for our physical bodies to run, but we also have emotional, celebratory, reward systems. There's so much that goes into, it's a motivator. There's so much that goes into food. And so to hear that this is their number one complaint makes a lot of sense, because for some people, especially incarcerated, it may be their only moment of enjoyment, of physical or emotional enjoyment for the day. And before people think, well, they're in prison and they're not supposed to have luxuries. It's really also a motivator and something, something that just at the core of who we are as humans, that it is an important issue. And I also love the idea of farming, because again, it is a skill, it is a behavior motivator, because we're only gonna let folks that are doing what they're supposed to do participate. And of course, it's also therapeutic too. It's another form of stress release and just kind of dealing with our own feelings and emotions. So I'm encouraged to hear these suggestions. With that, we do have some questions though. So the first question will come from Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much for being here in the presentation. And, very much I hear this complaint as well from folks that are incarcerated. And I agree, food is very special. And when we come to Carson City, I think of the 3 places I get to eat. So I appreciate this bill. My question is, in the study on the amendment, you talk about if the Department of Corrections determines to recontract with the current vendor during the duration of the study, the new contract term cannot exceed 2 years. And so I was just wondering, do you know how often they are reviewing their contracts, if this is a huge complaint that I know has gone up the chain that people are hearing about, and maybe this is a question for the department, but are they reviewing those vendors? Are they, looking at the food themselves and saying, okay, maybe this isn't that great of a quality. What can we do about this?
Venetia Considine for the record, through the chair to Assembly Member Gonzalez. Thank you. Thank you for the question. If the Director of Corrections does come up to testify in any sport, I would suggest requesting that from him because my knowledge is limited, but we came to that decision because I believe perhaps the last contract was 2 years. I know there was a vendor change 4 years ago, so I'm assuming that they're looking at it, but if the Department of Corrections is looking at it from the top down, their first thing that they're looking through is a budget. What we want to do is give them all the data that they need so that when they're looking at it, they're looking at more than just how much they have and how much can it serve, that it can go a little bit deeper than that. But the reason we put that 2 years in that is because you can contract as long as you want, and we want to make sure that not only do we have the time for this study to really have an impact and an understanding, but that at the end of the study, we aren't stuck waiting another 4 or 5 years before there's an opportunity to make any changes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So, are you requiring that they review the contract every 2 years, or are you just saying that the current contract cannot exceed 2 years within this study? Sorry, just clarify that for me. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for the question. Venetia Considine for the record. In the conversations that we had, what we sort of agreed to is that the contract, if they determine to re-up it, that it can't be more than 2 years. We're focused on what is happening during the study. Don't kind of want to stay in this lane because this is really where I think the differences will be made. So that was the discussion.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. So my question is kind of following up on my colleagues. Just what's the current process for DOC in the food contracts? Like, do they have choices? How often are they reviewing those? And then here in your amendment, it says it would be sent to multiple food service entities. How many is multiple? Like 3, 4?
Thank you for the question, Assembly Member Hardy. Venetia Considine for the record. I believe Director Zarenda will answer those questions for you. And the second part of your, oh, fantastic. He'll do that right now.
Good morning, James Zarenda, DZURENDA, Director for the Nevada Department of Corrections. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. First of all, the contract current vendor expires in March of 26. So we can't make changes before then anyway, but we can make changes that don't cost. We do reviews with the current vendor monthly to go over pros, cons, things that are working, not working, what do we need to improve and all that. When you talk about the vendors, it's not the vendor when you talk about whether you're getting better food or not better food. It's really about the money. When you could pay a vendor, whatever you want to pay a vendor, they will give you the service they want that you ask for. Doesn't matter what, if we go to a new vendor, it's going to be the same thing. If we pay more, we'll get more. You want a better food, we'll get better food, but it costs. Currently, with the cost of this new vendor that is going on, we also never really keep into account of gas prices, delivery prices, all that, which goes up during the year, which actually we usually don't have the money for. So our budgets are usually not even accurate enough to be able to cover additional costs that come through a vendor throughout the year because of those additional costs that happen. But with the evaluations of the food, to me, it's important to know that, what are the offenders seeing? What are they actually looking at with good food, bad food? Because it may be something different than what you and I are thinking. So it would be more important to find out from them what they believe it is. The vendor did meet with us and say that they can do 90-day cycles and let the offenders pick the second 90-day cycles. So if they don't like Jamaican patties, they could say they don't want Jamaican patties, and it could be taken out, and they could substitute it for what they think is the best meal, which is usually cheeseburger or chicken sandwich. So we could change it around because it does not cost any additional funds. But like I said, whatever we do with vendors, whatever we want to pay, they will give us. So that's really what it comes down to. And everyone blames the current vendor. It's not the current vendor. It's what we're paying the vendor. I don't know if that helps.
And if I can follow up, Venetia Constein for the record, to the second portion, the reason why we include multiple vendors is because there are some vendors across the country, like the Good Food Purchase Program, that I don't know if they've ever been invited. We want to make sure it gets to them. Also, I know we have over 200 urban farms in the state, and there is a problem, a program in the Department of Agriculture to try to aggregate some of that. It's something that we want to look into, and if there is a way for some of these urban farms to consistently and sustainably offer things, we want to give them an opportunity to be involved in it as well. And no, we didn't put a number on there. We just wanted to make sure that it was a wide variance.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, one more thing, James Arenda for the record. And we don't have to wait for an RFP to go out to try to find out what other vendors are out there and what communities can do. It's called an RFI, a request for information, and we could do that at any time. And what it does is it opens up not only to the state of Nevada, but to the rest of the country, anyone that wants to put in for what we're asking for, whether it's good food services or regular food services. And we could put that RFI out right away. We don't need approval to do that and get that information.
Thank you. And I believe that is the productive way to approach it. If the contract is up in 2026 and there's a possibility, we obviously need to be researching and looking for information now. So, Director, you may want to hang out for a while. Okay. Next question is from Assemblymember Cole.
Good morning. Thank you for this. I really appreciate the focus on nutrition. I think it's really important. My question is on the non-perishable food waste that you were talking about and documenting that through that year study. And I don't know if you need to put this in here, but I would want to see a categorization of the food waste that is non-perishable, that's still in the kitchen, that's being thrown out, versus what might be served to somebody, and for health reasons, you wouldn't be able to use it again anyway.
Nick Shebeck for the record. Thank you for that. And yes, I agree. I think that needs to be part of the study. I think when we build out food waste, we need to be clear on the different types. There's untouched trays versus half-eaten trays, right? I think they tell different stories, and so we need to be able to capture that information.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you addressing this issue of concern. But I also maybe have an amendment to the amendment, if we could include school lunches as well. So that we do a study of that and the waste.
Assemblymember, this
sorry.
is a different chapter. I think.
I know that when we talk about cost and the health of our the population in their food and their nutrition, what I have a concern with and what I've seen directly in my district is a prison in Lovelock that doesn't have a second oven for the majority of people that they need to feed. Certainly their nutrition is at risk. And so I just maybe with Director Zarenda at the table could maybe enlighten the committee about some of the frustrations in trying to solve that issue. Not for lack of trying, I must give you credit for that. And that the concerns I have representing my district, that food preparation can be compromised with that kind of issue.
So James Renner for the record, to answer that question. All of our kitchens, when I first stepped into the agency in January of 23, were of disrepair. All of them have, whether it's a oven that's down, whether it's a cooker or boiler that's down, that can't get repaired. All of them are in need of repair. And we started with, when you look at the Board of Prison Commission hearings, the health department submits their recommendations or failures or passes in our kitchen based upon our equipment. And that we've had kitchens that have been failing for over 6-7 years with failure remarks from the health department. That's because of our kitchen is in disrepair. So we started with the number one kitchen that was the most amount of failures going back 8 years, which was the Southern Desert Correctional Center. We did that. That was completed under the ARPA funds. Then we went to High Desert, which they are currently at right now, which is also was done by some ARPA funds. We're looking at other funding opportunities and ways to be able to do the rest of the facilities, Northern Nevada, Ely State Prison, and Lovelock. Just what we do is we do which one we believe is under worst disrepair, even though they all are, and start with that. Lovelock will be not last, but it will come up. Just there's no funding source for it right now. But what I plan on doing is, since we're replacing equipment at Southern Desert, High Desert, there's equipment there that is still not great, but still is good, that we're going to be moving up to the Lovelock Correctional Center to replace not working equipment until we get the budgets to be able to help that to repair it all.
Thank you for that. Did that answer your question, Assembly Member? Thank you. Our next question is from Assembly Member Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. Looks great. I like everything, including the vocational farm idea. I'm glad you want to explore that. And I was thinking, and I don't want to suggest exploitation here, but whether there could be a family farm component too. For families, it might be a way to either separate or the same one to connect with their family by helping grow food for their family member. As I said, I don't want to get into exploitation, but this might be a good way for them to connect.
Thank you for the question, Assemblyman Member Orentlicker, Venetia Considine, for the record. That is not something that we have considered. It's something that we will consider. This portion of it is dependent on funding and where practical, so there are potential distance requirements, and also the goal being if we can find funding to make it happen, the first our number one choice would be that fresh food goes back into the system itself so that it's feeding the people who are growing it. So depending on the size, it's definitely something to think about if there was additional items left over that could be shared, if that makes any sense. If I've misunderstood your question, please clarify.
Follow up, please. And what I was suggesting was the family would grow food that would go into the food system at the prison, so that they could grow food for their family member, not for themselves.
Nick Sheepek, for the record, I personally love this idea. I think anything that comes into the prison comes with a whole litany of challenges, and the director can speak to those better than I can.
I mean, I love that idea. As someone who started and ran a prisoner reentry program, family reunification is such a key component. So I'm picturing families coming in and working with their family members and tending to the farms. But yes, there's a litany of challenges for a fantastic idea that needs a lot of thought and isn't necessarily part of this bill right now. But any thoughts of family reunification that help with reducing recidivism later on are fantastic. So everybody keep that in here, and then somehow we can process that out. But if you want to respond to that, Director, because I know it's not part of the bill and a lot of challenges that go into that. Or you're just nodding and you're like, yeah, just great idea. Great idea.
It is a great idea, and we do try to see how we can improve with getting families closer together. We do have things now that we do involve the families, whether it's Christmas parties, Halloween parties, sharing that, but we don't bring food back into the prison. There is ways to have families helping out in the farms. And with those offenders that are eligible for community release or community trustees, they can work with them out in the farms. But nothing could come back into the prisons once the family has touched it, because then we start dealing with types of contraband and things that we may shut the programs down.
So, Director, if family members were tending to a farm with people, they could eat it outside with, like if we pick some whatever, we could eat it outside.
James Runner, for the record, yeah, that's possible. We do parks now. We did a park down in Las Vegas, and we had vendors come in that cooked food, and they ate with their family members out in the park in Las Vegas. we can do that.
Next question is from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing, I think, an incredibly important bill, and thank you, Director Zarenda, for answering our questions. My question is about the safety component of this bill, because I think a couple weeks ago, Director Zarenda mentioned that food is obviously one of the top complaints, and that food issues also correlate to incidents within the facilities, and so I wondered if you could just speak to how this may lower the rate of those incidents.
So James Renda, for the record, food is always a big contention with disturbances around the country. And trust me, if I can do the best food services, the staff would want me to too, because it does reduce violence, it does reduce incident, it does reduce complaints, grievances. That's what we want. So it's not, when you start hearing about food issues at the facilities, don't look at it as the staff are purposely making the food bad. You know, the staff really do want the food to be good. They do want the inmates to, you know, enjoy and be able to benefit from the foods, whether it's nutritional or what we were mentioning, to just to be happier and less commissary spends. That's a benefit for the staff. So we, as Department of Corrections, would love to have a better food services for everyone, just for our own safety as well.
Thank you for that. Assemblymember Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Zarenda, so I've been told that under the last administration, the staff was told to go to a low-sodium diet, and there was a direct correlation between the increase of complaints about food and that diet, and it also became more expensive. What are the chances of flipping that and at least going back to the original diet? I mean, not everybody needs to be on a low-sodium diet, and that can actually create other problems in and of itself.
So James Renda, for the record, that's true. It was actually a court case, not against Department of Corrections, but against Health and Human Services. And at the time, the Attorney General and Governor at the time determined to make it statewide. So the food services had to go to Department of Corrections at a certain 2,100 milligrams of sodium per day maximum, and certain protein levels that are lower. When you do anything that's better food for you, most likely it's going to be more bland, it's going to be more expensive, and the offenders won't like it. So that happens when you start looking at, it's not just looking for the better foods, but it's looking for better foods that are also, that they will enjoy. But that did happen. We had a lot of struggles with it. Today, the Board of Prisons Commission reversed it, so we're back on track with what we can do different with the meals. Unfortunately, it was in the middle of a vendor contract, so you can't go back all the way to where it was pre-decision that was from the Supreme Court. So going forward, we can, through the RFP and RFI process, which I believe we will see those meals better, both ways, better health-wise and enjoyable-wise as well.
And if I can also comment on that, thank you, Assemblymember Gray, for the question, Venetia Constantine, for the record. We are aware of that. That's why we've added items into this study as 90-day menus, including surveying the folks eating the food and the 90-day menu of their choice, so that we have a better understanding and a better balance between the need, the cost, and including these other options that we're doing, so that there isn't a as to what you pointed out was, one person changing it and causing unintended consequences. This is set to avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Director. And one thing I'd like to just caution.
Are you asking for a follow-up?
I'm just going to do a little, just finish
Very
the explanation.
little.
Very little. So we as a society tend to confuse the terms nutritional and healthy, and they have two very distinct meanings. Nutritional is not always healthy, so I think we need to start looking at things in those terms as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing any additional questions, I will open it up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 246.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kayla Maese, spelled Kaylah. Last name is Maese. I'm a civil rights analyst at the ACLU of Nevada, and the ACLU supports this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Miller, members of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. My name is Harrison Epstein, Harrison Epstein. I am a legal extern with the Clark County Public Defender's Office. We support AB 246 because eating good food is key to a successful life. Around 10,000 inmates are currently housed by the Nevada Department of Corrections, meaning this state's prisons and jails are serving around 30,000 meals each day. Undertaking a study to examine food costs, feasibility, and adherence to the approved menu is a step in the right direction toward ensuring incarcerated Nevadans will have access to local, sustainable, and healthy meals. The creation of farm programs at prisons and jails in the state would be a benefit to the people in those facilities immensely. Gardening has been shown to increase physical health, mental health, and well-being, while prison and jail gardens are shown to improve mood and decrease anxiety among incarcerated people. With these gardens in place, incarcerated people will have the ability to do rehabilitative and self-sustaining work while nourishing their community. By undertaking this study, Nevada is committing to better treatment for those who are incarcerated both now and in the future. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members of the Assembly and Committee. My name is Frank Macias, Macias. I am a policy analyst for Return Strong, and I have a personal experience with Nevada Department of Corrections and the current vendor. I've been incarcerated for 17 consecutive years, and within those 17 years, the changes that have gone on with the food has been tremendously horrible. It went from bad, from the previous vendor, to the current vendor, worse. The biggest issues were the actual portion and the type of food that was being given. It was just completely horrendous, bad, and on top of that, when there was portions left over, I was a porter, and I was basically ordered to throw the food away, or being asked to either just dismiss it, fill up my bowl, and that was it. So, I want to say 90% of the staff forced us to throw food away, and I want to say 10% of the staff officers had compassion, and they actually just said, just go ahead, hand it out to the inmates, and let them have it. That was my personal experience. On top of that, there's plenty more I can discuss on this subject, but I will refrain from doing so. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shane Picciadini, Shane Picciini. I am with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and as most of you know, the mission of the food bank is to ensure that everyone gets access to healthy food every day, and this is certainly in alignment with that, so we support AB 246. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tanya Brown, Tonja Brown, Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent. What a beautiful bill. Thank you to the sponsors for bringing this forward. This has been an ongoing issue for decades, I can tell you, for decades. And I don't know if you are aware of this, but I know that in some of the institutions, there are earth-based religions, and they're actually growing their own foods. And if you take a look at what they've been doing over the years and how they've had their health conditions prior to this and then growing, I think you might see a significant difference on the difference before they started growing their own food. So that might be something for the study to look at. A private citizen brought this to my attention just recently about when this is a huge state. Many times you will see like a cow that was killed or a deer that was killed, and they said, why can't they take that? If it's a fresh roadkill, take it and drop it off and give it to the Department of Prisons for them to have for foods. Is that something that could also be considered with this? With the land, what about the so I know that there's issues with water, but if it's in northern Nevada, you might be able to get more food. Is there going to be a canning process or a freezing process to where the foods will go from there to maybe the lower institutions?
Okay.
But this
I
is
just want to remind folks that testimony in support
This
means
is
we
great.
support
This is a
the
beautiful bill.
right,
We
not
strongly
suggesting
support it.
amendments or anything.
Oh, no,
okay.
I'm just giving you kind of an idea for a study. But anyways, thank you very much for bringing this forward. You're going to make a lot of people happy. Thanks.
Good morning. Angela Knott from the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, ANGELAKNOTT. I think we can all agree that food is life, and we support AB 246. We support it because we believe in healthier changes and healthier lifestyles for those incarcerated. AB 246 is one way to help rehabilitate from the inside out. We want to prevent recidivism. This is just one step to help that. Thank you.
Good morning. McKenna Lenz, for the record, MAKENALENZ. I'm a former graduate intern and current staff member of Return Strong. Corporate food vendors like NDOC vendor Aramark have a well-documented history of prioritizing cost-cutting over food safety and nutrition in prisons. In June of 2023, Return Strong surveyed incarcerated individuals on food and nutrition, with every state correctional facility represented in their sample. I led survey de-identification, transcription, and data analysis. Nearly 95% of all respondents reported deterioration in food quality and quantity over time. They noted missing items, inedible meals, and menu discrepancies as prevalent issues. Respondent 86 wrote, "All we think, speak, and dream about is a proper food tray. Nothing extra, only what we once had coming to us." As Nick mentioned, inadequate meals leave people reliant on costly commissary goods that are generally processed. Loved ones bear the financial burden of supplementing the food of their loved ones. Food safety is another major concern, with 94% of respondents reporting being served moldy, spoiled, or raw food. 88% said it impacts sleep, mental health, or daily activities, and 76% reported hoarding or binging food. This environment promotes stress, aggression, and desperation. These harms extend beyond the prison walls, with about 95% of incarcerated individuals returning to their communities with worsened health. The DOC and Aramark operate under a premise of shared responsibility, and it becomes quite difficult to hold either entity fully responsible for the food horrors. Instead of outsourcing to
Ma'am,
corporations.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support? Is there anyone there in Las Vegas? I will go ahead and read the phone number and the meeting ID again for anyone wishing to testify, because it's my understanding that the agenda it needs to be reposted, so it's in the process of being reposted because the wrong meeting ID is still up. So again, the meeting ID for today's hearing is 834-7727-2665. And with that broadcasting, will you please open the lines?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 246, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Follow with the last 3 digits, 432. Please press star 6 to unmute your phone. You are unmuted and may begin.
My name is Tammy Berg, T-A-M-I-B-E-R-G. My son is incarcerated at High Desert State Prison. I've asked him to write me a letter as to what he was being provided for meals. This is directly from him. For breakfast, I get 1 scoop of eggs powdered, 1 juice packet powdered, 1 packet of powdered milk, 1 juice box, 4 fluid ounces, 1 serving of grits, a scoop of cold cereal, 2 small round patties, and these are tiny little patties. For the lunch snack we receive at breakfast, because they only serve breakfast and dinner here, it includes the following 4 items of sandwich bread, 2 pieces of bologna, 1 packet of mustard, a packet of mayonnaise, and a package of goldfish snack crackers, 100 calories, and 1 piece of celery. The other day that rotates with the other one previously says is 4 pieces of sandwich bread again, 2 portable packets of peanut butter, and a packet, serving size of each packet is very small, and 200 calories. He gets a packet of Sun Chips and 1 carrot. I would challenge all of you to eat only what they are being provided for lunch. I can't speak for you, but I would be starved, hungry, and cranky. My guess is that you would also be hungry and very cranky. What is being provided for these grown men to eat is not enough. We are not treating our fellow human beings with the most basic necessities. Please, I beg you during this legislative session, fix this.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, my name is Yesenia Moya, Yesenia I'm here in full support of AB 246 because as a family member who has had several of my people incarcerated, I can't tell you the total of amount of money that I spent just on food. Whether that was raising funds between me and my family or just asking other people to help us put money on somebody's books. Knowing like the culture of, being in and out of prison, like you are always kind of told when folks come home about the food and particularly, there is this they have so many different recipes that they have come up out of resiliency to make up for the lack of nutrition, for the fact that some of this food is almost unedible. I have letters, and I hope that we can make the best decision to support our loved ones. They deserve dignity, even if they are incarcerated, and to just starve people or to not even allow them the opportunity of different options because they don't have somebody outside to support them. They don't have community around them that be willing to rally and put money on their books is really distressful. And so I'm looking forward to this bill being supported and the vocationary food programs. Like, let's make this, let's take this opportunity to really support our folks inside. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Everland. It's ESVERLUND. I'm in support of AB 246. I am here today to talk about prison food. My son is being fed meals that are unfit for human consumption. And when he told me, "Mom, I'm starving. This food is inedible," I knew I had to do something. I had to act. I started investigating who was responsible for supplying the food and found out it was Aramark, a for-profit company. In my research of the company, I found that state after state, Aramark has been removed from the prison contract for putting profit over people, cutting quality and quantity to maximize their own gain. The food they provide isn't just inadequate, it's grotesque. I'm not a state employee. I'm not being paid to do this research, yet here I am, a concerned mom, uncovering solutions the state should already be considering. The Center for Good Food Purchasing outlines a better way, one that straightens local economies by sourcing food from local farms or even establishing prison farms. This model promotes environmental sustainability, provides meaningful work opportunities for incarcerated individuals. It ensures access to fresh, nutritious food. I mean, think about it. Fresh fruit and vegetables could be a reality instead of an unidentifiable mush they are already served. The research is there. The facts are clear. So why is the burden on me to prove that what should already be obvious? The state should be leading this effort, not ignoring it. Nevada has a chance to be a leader in real, meaningful change, one that improves health, reduces medical costs, supports rehabilitation, and decreases aggression. We can fix this. Together, we can find better solutions that provide proper, humane meals for those behind bars, including my son and thousands of others. The question is, will we act or will we continue to look away? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
My name is Nancy Farry. My son is incarcerated at NNCC. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Ms. Farron, Ms. Farron, before you proceed, can you spell your last name, please?
Certainly. F like Frank, A-R-R-E-Y.
Thank you.
I was one of those, lock them up, let them eat whatever they want kind of thing. And then my son went to prison, and boy, were my eyes opened. We have struggled with this basic necessity of life, food, for so long. And I don't understand it because it is the key to good health, but it's the key to bad health too. And that comes with such a hefty medical price tag. And I think, why would NDOC want to take on this extra expense? And I've kind of just concluded that food is part of prison punishment. I get it now. I get it. Maintaining good health, it's not even a thought. And over, I've heard about this food that might fill a kindergartner's stomach, but not a grown man's. I mean, a grown man compared to a kindergartner. Visualize that. One slice of bologna on a sandwich, 2 wilted pieces of lettuce, a maple syrup packet with no pancake, no fresh fruit, a tiny juice box. The other lady was right, 4 ounces, 2 gulps, it's gone. And just the other day, this is just last week, the Aramark menu said, crispy chicken patty. Well, that turned out to not be a patty and not be chicken, rather a soggy something. Meatloaf. What a misnomer. Talk around the chow hall was it was something soy or some kind of liver compound. Yuck. I mean, I ask you respectfully, would you eat that? I wouldn't. The science is all out there, and I was so glad to hear people that spoke connect that. Regarding diet and physical health, diet and mental health, and diet and behavior, it all goes together. And these are critical components if you want to run any kind of a prison. Other states are out there, and they are doing amazing things, and they're saving money right along the way. They're even growing so much food, they give it to food banks.
Ma'am?
Nevada needs to look into these programs.
Your time is up. Thank you for your testimony. If you have any additional comments, we invite you to submit them online.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Good morning. My name is Ashley Shed, ASHLEYSHEAD, and I support AB 246. First, thank you to Assemblywoman Considine. I have a loved one incarcerated in Nevada, and after hearing that trays are often missing food, portions are frequently incorrect, menus are regularly deviated from, and food is often spoiled, yet still must be consumed due to limited options, I decided to do some research. I am here to express my deep concern over the NDOC's continued contract with Aramark for prison food services. A simple Google search reveals the horrors associated with the company's track record. Aramark has a history of serving inadequate, low quality, and sometimes spoiled food while violating health and safety standards. Despite fines and lawsuits, they still profit from taxpayer money while providing substandard meals to incarcerated individuals. The evidence against Aramark is overwhelming. Here are just a few. West Virginia, 2023, incarcerated individuals sued Aramark for routinely serving spoiled and undercooked food. California, 2019, a lawsuit from those incarcerated at Santa Rita Jail alleged they were served food infested with rodents, insects, and bird droppings. Michigan, 2015, after fining Aramark $200,000 in 2014, the state terminated its $145 million contract due to unapproved menu substitutions, misconduct, and food safety violations. In Ohio, investigations found maggots, rodent droppings, employee shortages, and unsanitary conditions in Aramark-run kitchens. Aramark also exploits incarcerated workers by classifying them as students to deny them fair wages. Additionally, Aramark has been caught overcharging states like Michigan, Kentucky, and Florida while cutting food quality, a pattern of fiscal irresponsibility that should concern every taxpayer in Nevada. We must help ensure Nevada doesn't enter into comparable contracts and make the same mistake in the future. By continuing this partnership or partnerships like it, we are all complicit in funding an entity that prioritizes profit over people, risking public health, safety, and financial responsibility.
Ma'am?
Better alternatives like the
Ma'am,
good food-
thank you for your comments, but you're over time.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Broadcasting next caller.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jody Hocking, Jodihockking, and I'm the Executive Director of Return Strong. For years, NDOC and Aramark have claimed that food in Nevada's prisons meet safety and nutritional standards, but firsthand accounts from incarcerated individuals tell a different story. Meals are often spoiled, nutritionally inadequate, and sometimes outright inedible. The system fails to provide even the most basic level of nourishment. These failures go beyond what's on the tray. Unsafe storage, extreme wait times between meals, and unsanitary kitchens contribute to both food waste and food insecurity. Incarcerated individuals are often forced to rely on money from their families to buy food from the commissary just to feel full, but with rising costs, fewer families can afford to provide that support. Food insecurity and fluctuating commissary prices also fuel disordered eating behaviors like hoarding and binging, which follow people home after they're released. Progress without meaningful improvement erodes public trust in NDOC's administration, but this study is a big first step toward real accountability, and we appreciate cooperating both with the bill sponsor and with NDOC. By gathering real data, we can finally address the systemic failures that have persisted for too long. We urge the committee to support the measure and to work in sincere partnership with scholars, advocates, correctional staff, and community members to break cycles of abuse in pursuit of a healthier, stronger Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Broadcasting next call.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mark Betancourt, MarkBettencourt. I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Coalition Against the Death Penalty in support of AB 246. I won't belabor the point. Thank you for all the work the advocates have done on this. Thank you for hearing it. This would be a huge step towards building a better correctional system for the folks that we have here and prevent families from spending hundreds of dollars and really putting them out of pocket that they can't afford. Thank you all.
If you have recently joined and would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 246, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 004, please press star 6 to unmute your phone. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Sandra Valentino, Sandra Valentino. My fiance is incarcerated at Northern Nevada Correctional Center. I am calling in support of AB 246, not only for the health of my fiance, but to relieve the stress on me, to help him supply extra food. Sending money is really the only subject we argue about. I'm so grateful to everyone supporting this bill and hope it passes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, there are no other callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Then I will go ahead and open it up for opposition testimony. Anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify? Not seeing anyone. Also, I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, so broadcasting, please open the lines.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 246, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Then I will open it up for neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in neutral? Not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 246, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Then I will welcome the bill sponsor back up for any final remarks.
Thank you, Venetia Constantine, for the record. Just want to thank this committee for hearing this bill. Thank you for the suggestions, and we are still working with stakeholders, including the Department of Corrections, to add some additional things which we will send. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is Assembly Bill 175. Assembly Bill 175 revises provisions relating to public safety. And so with that, Assembly Member, whenever you're ready, please introduce yourself and then proceed.
Good morning, thank you, Chair and members of the Committee on Judiciary. I am Assembly Member Brian Hibbetts, BrianHibbetts, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 13. I appreciate the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 175, which seeks to enhance public safety by increasing the look-back period for prior driving under the influence of offenses from 7 to 10 years. Assembly Bill 175 is an important measure for Nevada to reduce the devastating consequences of impaired driving. According to national statistics, DUI remains a significant threat, accounting for a substantial percentage of traffic fatalities each year. According to the latest available national data in 2022, there were 13,524 total DUI fatalities, 140 just in the state of Nevada. The economic costs associated with DUIs, including medical expenses, lost productivity, and property damage, are also substantial. Nevada is not immune to this crisis, and repeat offenders pose a particularly serious risk. In 2019, 93% of drivers involved in fatal crashes in this state were repeat offenders with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.15 or higher. For context, the legal limit in Nevada is 0.08, so this is almost double the legal limit. By extending the look-back period for prior DUI offenses from 7 to 10 years, we are sending a clear message that Nevada is serious about holding repeat offenders accountable and protecting our communities from the dangers of impaired driving. This measure is intended to strengthen our DUI laws, deter recidivism, and enhance public safety on our roadways. And this is the part in my script where LCB put in insert additional comments here. So let me go off script a little bit. During the interim and prior to that, especially in southern Nevada, we saw a grotesque number of DUI related crimes, whether they were fatalities, hit and runs, whatever. And I was saying to myself, we need to do something about this. And we're in a unique position to possibly be able to help. And I started kicking around ideas. And I happen to have the fortunate advantage of being married to a prosecutor who specializes in DUI-related crimes. So I would go to my wife and ask her, hey, what if we up the penalty for this? Nope, won't work. What if we up the penalty for that? Nope, won't work. What if we up the penalty for this, this, and this? Nope, won't work. Upping the penalty is not going to help with this problem. And one day I looked at her and I said, what if we change the look-back period from 7 years to 10 years? And she stopped and said, that actually might work. She said, I don't know how many times I walk into my office, look at a file, and make a note just outside 7 years, which means that it cannot be, that prior conviction cannot be used against the person in court as a enhancement. Excuse me one second. So I thought, well, she's got about 5 more degrees than I do, so she must be on to something. I'm going to submit that. And in my research, now this research is my research, not LCB's, so please forgive me if it is off at all. I looked at the western states. I kept it to the western states just to be a little closer to home. And I looked at what the look-back periods were. In California, it is 10 years. Arizona is at 7 years, the same way we are currently. Utah is at 10 years. Washington State is at 15 years as of 2024. Idaho is at 10 years, and Alaska is also at 15 years. Now, to be fair and also for transparency, Oregon and Colorado have 5 years, which is 2 years less than our current law. Let's just give a little context. So back to the pre-printed program. Assembly Bill 197 has several key components, all designed to increase accountability for repeat DUI offenders. The increases to the look-back period for prior offenses affect license revocations, imposition of penalties including potential jail time and fines, requirements for ignition interlock devices, and vehicle registration suspensions. The bill also makes corresponding changes to provisions concerning residential confinement, sentencing by justices of the peace and municipal judges, and document sealing after sentence completion. Lastly, the changes proposed in this bill will become effective July 2025, and the amendatory provisions of this act apply to offenses committed before July 1st, 2026, for the purpose of determining which penalties a person is subject to based on the number of DUI offenses committed within 10 years. In conclusion, AB 175 represents a necessary step towards strengthening Nevada's DUI laws and protecting our communities from the dangers of impaired driving. I urge your support and welcome any questions.
Thank you so much. We will begin questions from Assemblymember Dahlia.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I have a quick question about the number of cases that happen to fall in that 7 to 10 range. Do you have any firm data on, just so we can evaluate impact? Thank you.
At the moment, I do not, but I am in the process of researching that, and I will be happy to get that to the committee as soon as I have it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Assemblymember Cole.
Good morning, Assemblymember. Thank you for being here. My question is on page 5, and it's line 37, so subsection 6 of some section, I don't know. For the purpose of determining whether one offense occurs within 10 years of another offense, any period of time between the two offenses during which, for any such offense, the offender is in prison serving a term of residential confinement placed under the supervision of a treatment provider or parole or probation must be excluded. So am I correct in reading this, that if a person goes to jail for DUI for, say, 5 years, and then they get out and they immediately thereafter have another DUI, that period of time isn't counted? Does that make sense? Maybe I'm misreading it.
That is something I would defer to legal on, if that's okay, Chair.
Carly O'Krent for the record. I apologize. I heard you say page 5, but I was scanning the page to find the reference you're looking for.
Got it. So it's line 37, so it's subsection 6.
Okay, let me read it and give me 1 second.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Repeat the question now that I've read it. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So my question is, does that time in jail really mean that if the person had a DUI, they went to jail for, now let's say 10 years, they went to jail for 10 years, and they got out and they immediately thereafter had another DUI, that 10-year period wouldn't be counted as a prior offense within the limit?
That's a correct reading of subsection 6, Carly O'Krent for the record. I'm not sure as a practical matter if that's what happens. I see a couple of, John Jones is giving the thumbs up there.
That's exactly what happens.
Thank you.
Might be interesting to look at that and changing that as part of your change.
Thank you, and once somebody explains to me what just happened, I will
Well,
be glad to do that.
and I'll also mention that that is currently existing law right now. Yeah, so that is existing law, but again, for a practical matter, the bill says like the time that you're incarcerated doesn't count because, you're actually not driving or anything.
And that is kind of the point, is you can't commit DUI if you're in prison because you can't drive.
Yeah, that's not what is it, but we'll talk about it later. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next question from Assemblymember Roth.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. My question is just along the lines of data evidence as well. I know that we use that 7-year period, I think, pretty uniformly in statutes for DVs, record sealing, all of that. So is there any evidence or data that by moving it to the 10 years, it's going to reduce recidivism?
No. Oh, sorry. Brian Hibbets for the record. No, there is not. As far as I can tell, the expansion of the look-back period has been relatively new in the surrounding states, so we don't have that data as of yet. So by doing this, we could come up with our own data to show whether or not it works.
So would you be open to looking at the data that we currently have then from the 7 years?
Brian Hibbets for the record. I would be open to looking at any data because I think that having data-informed decisions is the best practice.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. and Thank you for bringing this bill. I just wanted to just put on the record Section 8 and on that talks about the sealing of the records. So going from 7 to 10 years for that sealing would just be for the DUI offenses as mentioned in this bill. Is that correct?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your concern about this issue. We need to do more. I just have a small question on page 2, line 2, where we're talking about the first violation. If it's a first violation, it seems like the within 7 or 10 years is unnecessary. Or am I missing the significance of that time period for the first violation?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you. My understanding is this is a conformative change because you're correct. The first offense, this actually makes no difference to, as far as, and if it's your first time that you've been arrested and convicted of DUI, the 10 years, the correlation is for the second offense looks back at 10 years. I think this is just a conformative change. I could be wrong because, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I would defer to legal just for clarification.
Carly O'Krent for the record. That's correct. That's a conforming change. The provisions that are referenced, Carly O'Krent for the record, in subsection or paragraph A of subsection 1 are provisions that simply specify unlawful acts relating to the operation of a vehicle. So the substantive change is elsewhere in the bill, and we're just changing that existing reference for purposes of conforming with that. I'm not sure if I'm articulating myself.
Well, if I could follow up, I appreciate that it's conforming, but I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yes, you're asking for a follow-up.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it's conforming, but I'm not sure why, what it tells us if it's a first violation.
Carly O'Krent for the record. I'm happy to look back at why they included those two references to 484C110 and 484C120 in the existing law that necessitated the conforming change. So I can follow up with you about that portion.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Our next question is from Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. And
I appreciate the intent of what you're trying to do. I wanted to clarify, you mentioned 140 DUI deaths in Nevada, but I didn't catch the time frame that you mentioned, if you had that there.
Brian Hibbets for the record. That is the latest available national data, which includes Nevada, and that was from 2022. I would have to research with DPS to see if we have a total for 23 or 24.
Okay. Follow-up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. No, that's good enough. I just wanted to make sure it was a year period. I just wasn't sure what year. And then maybe this is going to be found in the research that you're currently doing and waiting on. Do we know of, say, the 140 DUI deaths in 2022 in Nevada, or if we have more current, how many of those are second or more offense DUI persons?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you. The newest data we have on the recidivism rate is from 2019. So we don't have that from 22 or newer, unfortunately.
Do you have that available to state on the record?
Yeah, in 2019, 93%. I'm sorry, Brian Hibbets for the record. In 2019, 93% of drivers involved in fatal crashes in the state were repeat offenders with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.15 or higher.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not seeing any additional questions, I will go ahead and open it up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 175, starting here in Carson City.
Good morning, Chair Miller, members of the committee. I am Jason Walker, Jasonwalker, representing the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, testifying in support of Assembly Bill 175. Thank you, Assembly Member Hibbets, for bringing this bill forward. Committing the crime of driving under the influence is easier than most people are aware of. We could be sitting at a bar with friends, consume too much, or consumption of marijuana or gummies, and decided to drive home. You get pulled over for driving offenses, signs and symptoms upon contact, failed field sobriety testing, you get arrested. In the Washoe County, in my experience with the Washoe County and tracking our DUIs, most DUIs are first offense. A decent sized or second, third, or third plus offenses. By increasing the look-back period for usable priors, which could increase the penalty, could be just enough of a deterrence to prevent reoccurrence to keep our public and roadways safer. Thank you.
Lieutenant, will you hold up 1 second, please? I'm just going to ask a brief question because I believe all of you three would be able to respond. When it comes to drunk driving, do we know the percentage of people that actually get caught their first time drunk drive? Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm opening a can here, but the percentage of people that get, is there any data around this is the first time someone is driving drunk and actually get caught, or do we have any data suggesting that by the time someone gets caught drunk driving for the first or second time, what the pattern is?
Jason Walker. Chair Miller, thank you for the question. That's an excellent question that everybody would think of. In my experience, from the hundreds of DUIs that I've investigated, the only time that I would know of that is if somebody told me that. We don't stat it. I believe out of, let's say that there's 1,000 DUI arrests over 3 months in the great state of Nevada, we're probably touching 10% of the ones that are out there. And that's just in my experience. This is a larger issue than we know. Unfortunately, the Assembly member has stats for fatalities. Oftentimes, DUI offenders don't get into a crash. The ones that we know and the ones that hit us the hardest or when somebody's affected by a fatality or something like that. Again, this is one of those bills, to me, in my words and my opinions, a no-brainer. This is one of the many things that we should be doing to make a roadway safer.
Thank you for that.
My name is Joshua Martinez. I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I just want to echo what my counterpart from the Washoe County Sheriff's Department said. We know that DUI is a leading cause of our traffic fatalities that take place, but also we know that impairment driving results in many crashes and impacts many lives on our roadways in southern Nevada and within our jurisdiction. So we've taken measures and steps over the last year to increase our DUI enforcement and be specific in regards to our impairment driving enforcement that's taking place. And we've been able to make a dent into those traffic fatalities that occur in our jurisdiction. And we could look into some of the questions that were asked by the committee. And I know Stop DUI, in meeting with them prior to the session, they have a number in regards to how many times somebody drives impaired before they're stopped for the first offense.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Miller, members of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. My name is John Jones here on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association. We are in support of AB 175 and really appreciate Assemblyman Hibbett's bringing the bill. I'm going to say ditto to everything Assemblyman Hibbett said, along with my colleagues who are at the table. I also want to point out that this bill does nothing to affect the eligibility for our DUI offender programs for Veterans Court. Our main goal is to keep people from driving under the influence. And I think this increased look-back period will help with that goal. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Jason Woodard, Jason Woodard. I'm with the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association. We represent law enforcement executives across the state of Nevada. I'd first like to say ditto to John Jones's ditto, if I may, to keep it short. We know that DUI and repeat DUI is an issue that impacts communities across the state of Nevada, and we believe that this bill helps to continue to enhance public safety and give additional investigative tools to law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. That's C-A-T-H-C-A-R-T. Just want to thank Assemblyman Hibbets for bringing this important bill. The city is in support of AB 175 and believe it's a worthy effort to make our roads safer. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Miller and members of the committee. Jeff Rogan, Jeffrogan, on behalf of Clark County. There's just one thing I would add. Our Office of Traffic Safety is an important office that we started about 2 years ago in Clark County, and among other things, it's geared towards ensuring that our drivers behave and follow the laws. One of the areas that we're focused on is obviously driving under the influence. So Andrew Bennett, who is our Director of Traffic Safety, texted me in response to a question that was asked, and he indicated that MAD has data that says people drive impaired over 80 times before they're caught, and so I wanted to bring that to your attention in response to your question. But other than that, I will ditto everything that's been said today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Terry Graves, representing the Nevada Trucking Association. We are also in support of AB 175. Trucking operators recognize highway safety as an integral part of our operation. And to the extent this bill will keep impaired drivers off the road, we fully support it. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Miller, Vice Chair Marzella, members of the committee. My name is Wesley Harper. I am the Director of Government Affairs for the City of North Las Vegas. We appreciate Assemblyman Hibbett's bringing this bill forward, and we fully support and agree with the comments that were made prior. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you please open the line?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 175, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 175, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then I will open it up for opposition testimony, starting here in Carson City.
Good morning, Chair Miller and members of the Assembly Judiciary. Paloma Guerrero, P-A-L-O-M-A-G-U-E-R-R-E-R-O, Clark County Public Defender's Office. This bill doesn't impact dangerous criminals, but everyday people. My office represents parents, veterans, and working class individuals who never intended to harm anyone, but found themselves trapped in a battle with addiction. Many of them hit rock bottom after a DUI and used that as a wake-up call to seek help. But instead of offering them a path to recovery, this bill keeps them locked in a cycle of punishment, treating them as criminals rather than people in need of support. There is no evidence that extending the look-back period from 7 to 10 years will make our roads any safer. And there have been studies. The U.S. Department of Transportation National Highway Traffic Safety Administration conducted a national study examining the effect of states' look-back periods and its impact on recidivism. The study found no direct link between extended look-back periods and lower rates of repeat DUIs. What the study does highlight as important factors that play a big role in preventing DUIs are treatment programs, ignition interlock laws, and swift legal consequences. This bill just helps classify more individuals as repeat offenders. Today, you didn't hear any evidence how this is going to keep our roads safer. You didn't hear any data about how this is going to keep our roads safer. What we heard is an anecdote from a prosecutor, how this will just classify more individuals as repeat offenders. And again, the point of that anecdote wasn't to explain how that's going to keep our roads safer. What this bill will do is punish someone who turned their life around 8 years ago, someone who got sober, rebuilt their family, and hasn't had a drink since, only to be dragged back into the system because this bill says their past mistakes should follow them for a decade now instead of 7 years. And that's not justice. We should be investing in treatment, not just harsher penalties. We should be enacting laws based on evidence and data. People don't stop drinking because they fear longer punishments. They stop drinking when they get help they need. Thank you.
Good morning, Angela Knott from the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. We oppose AB 175. There's no doubt that the number of individuals who suffer from mental health issues and/or addiction is on the rise. Over the past few years, there's been a big shift to provide more resources and services and education to those suffering from mental health and addiction. Our concern with AB 175 are the people who, in a moment of weakness or a night out with friends, get behind the wheel of a car and drive while intoxicated. For many of our clients, the cost and humiliation of being arrested, taken to jail, then navigating the court process and counseling programs is enough to prevent a future bad choice. For these people, being able to seal their records and remove the stress that DUI has caused their life is a way to start clean, a way to start fresh. Changing the law from 7 to 10 years makes it more difficult to start clean. Let's not punish those who are doing the work and cleaning up their lives. We could be in support of a study to make an evidence-based determination on how to tackle DUIs, but not an emotional one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City in opposition? Not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you open the lines, please?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 175, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Sandra Valentino, Sandra Valentino, and I oppose this bill. I agree something needs to be done, but locking people up does not fix anything. It certainly doesn't keep them away from drugs and alcohol. They have access while incarcerated. My fiance is serving an excessive amount of time for a DUI first offense where nobody was hurt. He needed help prior to that, and it was impossible to find help. That is where the problem lies. Why do they have a drinking problem? That's the question we need to ask. If you really want to reduce repeat offenses, we need to do more than just locking them up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, good morning, members of the committee. My name is Yesenia Moya, Yesenia Moya, and I am here in strict opposition of AB 175. Imposing longer look-back periods, like the presenters today said, they don't have any data on it actually working or like making anything safer. They'll just impose longer prison times, longer driver's license suspensions, the ability for people to actually go to work. It'll impede things, people from becoming, employed or having, there's just like a long list of domino effects. Once you have felony charges, required SR2, 22s, having to go through different insurances. In essence, like having a longer period will have a longer effect and could increase the amount of recidivism. What we do need are education programs, wraparound services. These things have been proven through empirical data that we have from scientists that have looked at this and said to prevent recidivism and habitual offenders, education and wraparound services work. So please don't increase the amount of look-back periods, as this is only going to increase the amount of people actually being in harm's way and or ending up in prison for longer extended periods of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
There are no other callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Then with that, I will open it up to neutral testimony, beginning here in Carson City. Not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines, please?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 175, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Then I will invite the bill sponsor back up for any final words.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Committee, for the time. I appreciate it, and I would just like to reiterate that this bill does nothing to affect the first-time offender. However, those that choose to become reoffenders will be affected by this bill. And for the comments about this not being dangerous criminals, I would invite any of you to spend a night with a traffic investigative unit, and they will prove that to be absolutely incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 175. Members, we do have a BDR introduction. So for BDR 10528, provides that the association of a common interest community may not prohibit a unit's owner or tenants of a unit's owner from operating a small child care establishment within a unit. Again, just a reminder that a yes vote on this is just simply to turn this BDR into a bill. It does not imply your support for the measure, and of course, the measure, if moved forward, will have a full hearing. So with that, any questions, members? I will take a motion to for BDR 10528.
So moved.
I have a first from Vice Chair Marzola and a second from Assembly Member Gray. With that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. The motion passes. Now we are moving to our last agenda item, which is public comment. So is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to make public comment? Not seeing anyone, and there's no one in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you so much. Then I will close public comment, and that concludes our work for today. Thank you, everyone. I will see you all back at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. This meeting is adjourned.